싶어 너에게 말야 되고 싶어 너의 남자 많이들 알아 나도 그랬어 너한테 놀림받는 것도 괜찮지만
Wyan stared at her phone, her fingers trembling as she dialed Jimin's number. The apartment, once filled with warmth and laughter, now felt like a hollow shell echoing her loneliness. She could hear the distant hum of city life outside, but inside it was really quiet. "Are you coming home tonight, Jimin?" Her voice wavered slightly, betraying the desperation she felt. She held the phone close, hoping for a response that would soothe her growing doubts. There was a pause at the other end, a hesitation that only fueled her anxiety. "I have a late meeting, Wyan. Don't wait up." His tone was curt, his mind clearly preoccupied with work. She could hear the clatter of keyboards and the murmur of voices in the background. Wyan sighed, feeling the familiar pang of disappointment settle in her chest. It had been like this for months now. Jimin's work always took precedence. She glanced around their apartment. The space, once vibrant with shared movements and laughter, now felt cold and silent. The framed photos on the walls seemed to mock her, capturing happier times that felt like a distant memory. She walked over to the window, looking out at the city lights twinkling in the distance. It was a beautiful sight, one she used to share with Jimin during their late-night talks. But those moments had become rare, replaced by Jimin's increasing absence and the growing chasm between them. Wyan sank into the couch, pulling a blanket over her shoulders, as if it could shield her from the coldness creeping into her heart. She knew Jimin was ambitious, and she admired his dedication to his career, but she couldn't shake the feeling that their relationship was slipping through her fingers. She remembered the early days of their romance, the excitement and passion that had brought them together. They used to talk for hours, sharing their dreams and fears. Now, their conversations were reduced to brief exchanges about schedules and logistics. Wyan picked up her phone again, scrolling through old messages and photos. Each one was a reminder of what they once had, a stark contrast to the present reality. She wondered if Jimin missed those days too, if he felt the same emptiness that gnawed at her. As the hours passed, Wyan's eyes grew heavy with. She knew she should go to bed, but the thought of lying in their empty bed was too much to bear. She stayed on the couch, clutching the blanket tighter, and whispered a silent prayer that things would change. But deep down, she knew that it would take more than prayers to bridge the growing gap between them. Wyan stood in the middle of her bedroom, her suitcase open on the bed. Clothes were scattered around, and she methodically folded each item, packing them with a sense of resolve. She needed a break, a chance to breathe and rediscover herself away from the atmosphere of the city and the strained relationship with Jimin. Her hometown beckoned with its comforting familiarity and the promise of rekindled friendships that had faded into the background of her busy life. She picked up her phone, scrolling through her contacts until she found Namjoon's number. They hadn't spoken in months, but she knew he would understand. With a deep breath, she typed out a message. "Hey Namjoon, it's been a while. I'm coming back home for a bit. Can we catch up?" She hesitated for a moment before hitting send, her finger over the button. Finally, she pressed it, the message flying off into the ether. Almost immediately, her phone buzzed with a response. "Ryan, of course. Can't wait to see you. Let's meet at our old spot." Namjoon's response was immediate and enthusiastic, bringing a smile to Ryan's face. She could almost hear his warm, familiar voice and picture his easy grin. It was comforting to know that some things hadn't changed, that some friendships remained steadfast despite the passage of time. Namjoon stood up from the table, his face lighting up as he saw Ryan approached. He opened his arms wide and enveloped her in a warm, tight hug that felt like coming home. "You look amazing, Ryan. How have you been?" His eyes sparkled with genuine interest, a stark contrast to the distant look she had grown accustomed to in Jimin's eyes. "I've been better, Namjoon, but being here with you feels like a breath of fresh air." She smiled, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. After catching up over coffee, they decided to take a walk through the town, the familiar streets bringing back a flood of memories. The air was crisp and refreshing, filled with the scent of blooming flowers and freshly cut grass. As they walked, they talked about their childhood, reminiscing about their many adventures. "Remember that time we snuck into the old barn? We were so scared of getting caught." Namjoon's laughter was, his eyes crinkling at the corners as he recalled the memory. "Oh, I remember. You were the brave one, leading the way. I was just trying not to scream." Ryan's laughter was genuine, her spirits lifting with each shared memory. The memory of that day was vivid in her mind, the way her heart had pounded with both fear and excitement, the thrill of doing something. Ryan's social media posts were a flurry of joyful moments with Namjoon. There were pictures of them laughing by a bonfire at the lake, hiking through the woods, and sharing stories over coffee in their favorite cafe. Each photo painted a picture of happiness and contentment, a stark contrast to the strained and distant images of her life with Jimin. Jimin sat in his office, scrolling through the photos on his phone. His jaw tightened as he saw Ryan's radiant smile, her eyes sparkling with the joy he hadn't seen in months. The sight of her so happy without him stirred feelings he hadn't acknowledged before. Jealousy gnawed at him, but beneath it was a deeper realization. He missed her more than he had admitted, even to himself. The more he looked at the photos, the more he felt the weight of his own absence in her life. The late nights at the office, the missed dinners, the countless times he had told her not to wait up. All of it seemed insignificant compared to the growing distance between them. Ryan, I miss you. Can we talk? His voice was softer than usual. Creeping in that he hadn't shown in a long time. There was a pause on the other end, long enough for Jimin to wonder if she would even respond. I need some time, Jimin. I'm trying to figure things out for myself. Her tone was calm but resolute, a strength in her voice that Jimin hadn't heard before. Jimin's heart sank. He had expected some resistance, but hearing it in her voice made it all the more real. He realized then just how much he had taken her for granted, how his neglect had pushed her away. The jealousy that had initially gnawed at him now gave way to regret and a deep sense of loss. I understand. Take all the time you need. Just know that I'm here and I want to make things right. His voice cracked slightly, betraying the emotion he was trying to keep in check. Thank you, Jimin. I appreciate that. There was a softness in her reply, but also a distance that Jimin couldn't ignore. She needed this time to find herself, and he realized he needed to give her the space she was asking for. As he ended the call, Jimin sat back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. He knew he had to make some changes, not just for Ryan, but for himself. He had lost sight of what was truly important, and now he had to find a way to rebuild what had been broken. Ryan, on the other hand, felt a mixture of relief and sadness. The conversation with Jimin had been necessary, but it also underscored the uncertainty of their future together. As she looked out at the peaceful lake, with Namjoon's laughter echoing in the background, she knew she was on the right path, one that required her to be true to herself, no matter where it led. For now, she would focus on the present, on the moments of joy and rediscovery with Namjoon. The future could wait. She had to reclaim her happiness first. Jimin drove through the winding roads of Ryan's hometown, his heart pounding with a mix of determination and fear. He hadn't called ahead. He needed to see her, to show her that he was willing to fight for their relationship. He pulled up to the local cafe, the place she had frequented with Namjoon, and took a deep breath before stepping out of the car. Through the cafe's large windows, he saw Ryan and Namjoon sitting at the corner table, their laughter filling the cozy space. The sight was like to his heart, a painful reminder of everything he had neglected. Mustering all his courage, he pushed the door open and walked in. Ryan looked up, her eyes widening in surprise as she saw him approach. "Wyan, can we talk?" His voice was softer than usual, almost pleading. He tried to keep his composure, but the urgency in his tone was unmistakable. "Jimin, what are you doing here?" Her surprise quickly turned to a mixture of annoyance and curiosity. She had not expected to see him here, not now. Namjoon, sensing the tension, placed a reassuring hand on Wyan's shoulder before standing up. "I'll give you two some space." He squeezed her shoulder gently, offering her a supportive smile before stepping away to another table, but staying close enough in case she needed him. Jimin sat down across from Wyan, his eyes filled with regret and longing. He took a deep breath, knowing this was his chance to make things right. "I've been an idiot, Wyan. I've taken you for granted, and seeing you with Namjoon made me realize how much I need you. I'm sorry. I want to make things right." Wyan steadied him, her emotions a whirlwind of confusion and hope. She had heard apologies before, but something in Jimin's eyes told her this time was different. Still, she needed to be sure. "Do you really mean that, Jimin? Because I can't go back to how things were. I need more from you. More attention, more love. I can't be in a relationship where I feel like I'm always second best." Jimin reached across the table, his hand covering hers. His was warm, familiar, yet filled with an unfamiliar urgency. "I mean it, Wyan. I've realized how much I've hurt you, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to prove it to you. I want to be the partner you deserve, the one who stands by you, who listens and cares." Tears welled up in Wyan's eyes as she listened to his words. She wanted to believe him, to give their love another chance, but she also knew that action spoke louder than words. "Jimin, I need to see it. Words are easy, but showing me that you've changed is what really matters. I need consistency, and I need to know that you're committed to making this work." Jimin nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. "I will, Wyan. I'll show you every day that I'm serious about this. I don't want to lose you." Wyan took a deep breath, feeling a glimmer of hope. "Okay, Jimin, let's take it one step at a time. But you need to understand that this isn't just about us getting back together. It's about rebuilding trust and finding our way back to each other." Jimin squeezed her hand, a determined look in his eyes. "I understand, Wyan, and I'm ready to do whatever it takes." As they sat together, the bustling cafe around them seemed to fade away. This moment was a new beginning, a chance to rebuild what had been broken. It wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in a long while, Wyan felt a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could find their way back to each other. Jimin's efforts to win back Wyan's trust were earnest and heartfelt. He started with small gestures, surprise visits to her hometown, heartfelt messages left in places he knew she would find them, and taking time off work to be with her. He wanted to show her that she was his priority now. that he was willing to make the changes necessary to rebuild their relationship. One sunny afternoon, as they walked through the park where they had shared so many memories, Jimin stopped and turned to her, his eyes filled with determination. "I've booked us a weekend getaway. Just the two of us. I want us to reconnect, to spend quality time together without any distractions." Wayan looked at him, a mix of hope and caution in her eyes. She had seen changes in Jimin, but she needed to be sure this wasn't just a fleeting effort. "I'd like that, Jimin, but this can't just be a temporary change. I need to know that you're committed to this, to us, for the long haul." Jimin reached out and took her hands in his grip firm yet gentle. "I know, Wayan, and it won't be. I promise you, this is just the beginning. I want to prove to you every day that you are my priority." Their weekend getaway was to a cozy cabin nestled in the mountains, a place where they could escape from the world and focus on each other. The drive to there was filled with light-hearted conversation and laughter, a stark contrast to the tense silence that had characterized their recent months together. As the weeks turned into months, Jimin's commitment to change remained unwavering. He attended counseling sessions, learning to understand his own behavior and how to communicate more effectively with Wayan. He found a balance between his demanding job and his personal life, prioritizing his time with Wayan. He listened attentively to her needs, ensuring that she felt valued and heard. One afternoon, as Wayan sat with Namjoon at their favorite spot in the park, she shared the progress she and Jimin had made. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the trees and the small pond nearby. "I'm happy for you, Wayan. You deserve to be treated right." His words were sincere, though a hint of sadness in his eyes. "Thank you, Namjoon. Your friendship means the world to me. I hope we can always be close." She reached out and took his hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. "Always, Wayan. You know where to find me." He smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. He was genuinely happy for her, but he couldn't help but feel a pang of loss for what might have been. Their friendship had been a pillar of strength for Wayan, and she was determined to keep that bond strong. She knew that Namjoon had been there for her during some of her darkest times, and she was grateful for his unwavering support. Wayan and Jimin's relationship blossomed anew, this time built on a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. They learned to navigate their differences with patience and empathy, finding joy in the small moments they shared. One evening, as they sat at the couch on the balcony of their apartment, watching the stars twinkle in the night sky, Jimin took Wayan's hand in his. "Wayan, thank you for giving me another chance. I love you more than words can say." His eyes were filled with sincerity. his voice soft and earnest. "And I love you, Jimin. Let's keep working on us every day." She leaned in, pressing a gentle. Their connection felt deeper than ever, a testament to the efforts they had both made. Their love story, once marked by neglect and distance, became a testament to the power of change and the enduring strength of true love. They continued to attend counseling sessions together, each one bringing new insights and strengthening their bond. They made time for each other, whether it was a quiet dinner at home or a spontaneous weekend getaway. Jimin made sure that his actions consistently matched his words. He supported Wyan in her endeavors, celebrated her successes, and stood by her during challenging times. Wyan, in turn, opened her heart fully to Jimin, trusting him with her dreams. This is a tale of rediscovery and the rekindling of a love that had been lost but not forgotten. Wyan and Jimin's journey reminds us that sometimes it takes the of losing something precious to truly appreciate its value.